It is time to start separating the tares from the wheat. A lot of people don't realize that the wheat is the scriptures, what is written. We have been blinded by what the tares really are. If you go back to Joshua, he spoke of the tares. He said, as soon as I sow the good seed, the thief will come and sow the tares in the wheat. He said, as soon as. He didn't say 300 years from now. He didn't say in the end of days. I know a lot of times if you come out of churches, you were taught that the tares were people that would be sent in the last days, and that's not so. The tares are right there with the wheat. Joshua said that they would have to grow with the wheat until harvest time, because if you tried to pull the tares out of the wheat, you would uproot the wheat as well. So the tares had to grow with the wheat. So what are the tares? Well, if you know anything about wheat, there is this weed that typically sometimes is grown in wheat, and when it gets older with the wheat, it looks a lot like the wheat. The problem is it can't be processed. You know, it comes to nothing. Whereas wheat has to be threshed, and the holes in the wheat have to be removed. They're usually blown into the wind, and the wind takes them away. And then what is left over from the wheat is put into the grinding mill and milled into flour so that you can make bread. But the tares can't be used to make bread. And it's the same with those scriptures. They can't be used to profit the spirit or the soul. And a lot of people don't realize it. So Father has put it in my heart to start making the videos and separating the tares from the wheat. And we don't realize there are many tares in the wheat, in the scriptures, that we don't even perceive. But I think I'm going to start with the most important one, the first one. And that is the tare of the name of Joshua. His name is Joshua, but in the scriptures it said that the angel spoke to Mary and said that she would name him the J and the S's, but that's not so. People will try to argue and say, yeah, but that's a translation. That's not so. No one's name is translated to another language. However, ironically, that particular name was translated once and sent throughout the entire world in many languages, and that name remained. So why wasn't the name ever translated into another language like French or Russian? Do you see where I'm going with that? He was Hebrew, Jewish roots, so he would have had a Jewish name. as we know, there were no J's in our language until probably uh, the 1500s, 1600s, somewhere in there, when we finally had a J. If that had been his name with that sound, you would have thought they would have used a G, since G can double with the J sound, the J. But that's not the point. His name in the original text was a Tare, and it was a Latin Tare, I-E-S-U-S, or I-E-S-O-U-S. Either way, it meant, in other words, the swine. So when you speak that name, you are calling out to the swine, and you don't realize it. But I'm here to let you know that is a Tare. His name is Yahshua. Y-E-H-O-S-H-U-A, an H on the end, and it's pronounced Yahshua. This is his name. It was always his name. Proverbs talks about the name being the oil, and of course he gives you the parable of the 10 virgins, 5 are foolish. And the oil is very important for the lamps. And because they had the correct lamp, the correct oil for their lamps, the name, they were able to go in to the bridegroom, the groom, because they had the proper lamp to light up his face and their face. It's so ironic because Jacob, he went in on his wedding night, and his father-in-law tricked him with Leah when it was Rachel that he was in love with and wanted to be with. If he had only had a lamp with oil, he could have clearly seen that this was Leah and not Rachel. And that's why the oil is very important for the 5 virgins that have it, and 5 do not have it. That's a 50-50% chance. Those that have the oil, which is his name, and those who don't have the oil, which is not his true name. This is the first Tare in the New Testament. As time progresses, a lot of you will be shocked by these teachings. A lot of you will come unglued, but this is the will of our Father who is holy and righteous forever. And Yahshua, these things must come to pass.